in today's lesson, what we're going to do is extend what we did in yesterday's lesson. So instead of rounding using decimal places, we're going to use significant figures. So rounding significant figures is to replace the decimal places, because some numbers it's hard to know exactly which decimal place to use, and also some numbers don't have any decimal places. So it's really tricky to know how accurate you want answers to be. So the key thing with significant figures is whenever you have a number, the first significant figure is the first non-zero. So if we take a look at our example here, it's fairly obvious to see that our first significant figure is the 4, because that's the first non-zero. That rule about the first non-zero is a bit more important in the following example, for the following number, because it starts with 0.0000. So we don't count any of those places, and the first significant number is the 7. And then the numbers just follow on as you would expect. So for the second significant value, in the first number it's an 8, the second number it's a 5. If we continue that on to the third significant figure, that would be a 9, and it would be a 0 for this one. So after the first significant value, what we then do is count zeros as a significant figure as well. So the rules to rounding to certain significant values is exactly the same as what we used for decimal places. The only difference is we don't use decimal places, we use significant figures to decide where to put our line. So the first step is exactly the same. You count out the number of significant figures, you put a vertical line, you then you decide the number on the right. If it's a 0 to 4, it stays the same. If it's a 5 to 9, you increase it by the number on the left by 1. You drop all the other values. The only difference for significant figures is that you, because it's not just decimal places, you can't just drop off place values. So you may have to add zeros. We'll take a look at some examples to get a better idea of this. So we've got a number here, 53,473. Same procedure as before, so it's 5, 3, 4, 7, 3. We put a line after the third significant figure. So in this number, 5 is the first, 3 is the second, 4 is the third. So the next thing we need to decide is the number on the right. It's 5 through to 9. So what we have to do is we have to increase this number by 1. So we write the answer as everything on the left of the line apart from the last one increasing. So 5, 3, 4, 5. Now the problem we've got, when we could drop off the decimal places, we would end up with a number, we could just drop them off. However, our answer is different from what we started with. We started off with 53,000. What I've actually written is 535. So the way we get around this is we've chopped off two numbers. So that number and that number. So we have to put 2 zeros in. All right, so it's 53,500. Looking at a second example, you've got to round this number to 3 significant figures. So the first significant figure is the 4, then 0 is the second significant figure, and 3 is the third significant figure. So we look at the number on the right, and it's 0 through to 4, so we ignore it. And in this one, what we can do is we we can just chop off the numbers because it's decimals, and we get our answer. So for the third example here, we've got 2,997, 3 significant figures. So 2 is the first significant figure, 9 is the second, not the second 9 is the third. It's 5 to 9 on the right hand side. So this means we have to increase this one by 1. Of course it's a 9, so we have to increase that one by 1. And then we increase that one by 1. And also remembering to add a 0 for the one that we've chopped off, so 3,000. And it kind of makes sense that 2,997 is closest to 3,000 as well. The importance of significant figures is generally in maths we like to have final answers to 3 significant figures. So even if something doesn't have decimal places or anything like that, we can write our answers rounded to those 3 significant figures. So here what I would like you to do is, again, grab a sheet of paper, copy the table, and I want you to complete the table rounding to, firstly, 3 significant figures here, 2 significant figures here, and 1 significant figure here. So if we take a quick look at that, if I put a line in 3 significant figures, sorry, I'll go through the first example so that you've got a clear idea before you attempt the rest. 3 significant figures, you can see that the 2 means that we don't chop anything off, so that would be 6.35. For the second part, that after 2 significant figures, we can put a line after the 3. You can see it's a 5, so that means that the number should go up, so you end up with the answer 6.4. Last one, 1 significant figure, we should put a line here. You can see it's a 3, so there'll be no change, so we can put a 6 there. What I'd like you to do is, with your table completed, is have a go at completing all of the answers from the rest of the table, and then we'll go through. So stop the video now and turn it back on once you've completed that table. Okay, you should have completed the table now. So if we go through the answers, so the 34.026, okay, 3 significant figures is 34.0, 34, and lastly 30. 30 is always a tricky one where people get a little bit confused of how to round it. But remember, if you go through the steps correctly, put the line there. The 4 means you chop it off, but you've got to replace the 0 to keep the placeholder. So and there are all the final answers. So well done if you completed that correctly. You can stop the video now, go back to the lesson page, and start the worksheet on significant figures.